Hello everyone. You're welcome to my YouTube channel, Akeem. We have another question today to destroy, and the question we are going to solve today is on factorization. From the question we have, using completing the square method, solve correct to two decimal places. We are given an equation. This particular topic is under factorization. And for us to solve factorization, we have so many methods of solving factorization. We have the first one, factorization method. The second one, completing the square method. We have the third one, which is using the general quadratic formula. And we have the fourth one, using the graphical method. But in this particular question, we are asked to use completing the square method. Once you are told to use completing the square method, you must use completing the square method. If you use another method, the examiner will totally miss it for you, even when your answer is correct. Now, let's look at this question. The first thing we need to do is to first get the quadratic equation. And how can we get the quadratic equation? We are going to cross multiply. If you cross multiply here, you are going to have 2x into x minus 2. As in this one multiplying this, and this multiplying this is now equal to 4 into x plus 2. So from here, we can now open the bracket. If you open the bracket, you will have 2x squared minus 4x is now equal to 4x plus 8. Now, we can now move everything to this side. If you move everything to that side, the sign of whatever item you move will change. If it is positive, it will change to negative. And if it is negative, it will change to positive. So here we are going to have 2x squared minus 4x. This 4x we move here, we have 4x again. We can leave this one here since we are going to use the method of completing the square. The constant will always be at the other side. So from here, minus 4x will give us minus 8x. So we have 2x squared minus 8x is equal to 8. Now we are left with this. You can see we now have a quadratic equation. What is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an equation in which the highest power of the variable used is 2. As you can see, the highest power of the variable used from this question is 2. So how do we go about solving it? Using completing the square method. For us to use completing the square method, there are some steps that we need to consider. The first step is that we have to ensure that the coefficient of the variable with the square is 1. As you can see from the board here, this coefficient, the variable we are using here is x, and x square here, the coefficient of x square here is 2. So the first thing we are going to do is to divide through by 2. So if I divide through by 2, I'm going to divide this one by 2. You divide each of them by 2. So if you divide by 2, we are going to be left with x squared. 2 here is 1, 2 here is 4. We have minus 4x is now equal to 4. The next thing we are going to consider, the next step we are going to consider is that we are going to consider the coefficient of x. And if you look at this very well, the coefficient of x is minus 4. Divide the coefficient of x by 2. If you divide it by 2, you will have minus 2. Square it and add to both sides. If I square minus 2 here now, I am going to have, and square it, I'm going to have square it and add to both sides. I don't even need to get the score. That means I'm going to have from here x squared minus 4x. Square it and add to both sides. If you add it to both sides, you will have plus minus 2 squared to both sides. Add to the other side, you have plus 4 plus minus 2 squared. Going further, we are going to have Going further, we are going to have now, if you look at this side very well, you will notice that we can simplify this. The one that are having square, we are going to consider them. There is a square here, there is a square here. What do? We ignore the one at the center. That means I'm going to have x minus 2 square. As in, I will consider those ones that are having square. I have x square minus 2 square. That means I'm going to have minus x minus 2 square is equal to, this one now will now give us 4 plus, I can now simplify this. Minus 2 square will give up me minus 2 times minus 2. And that will of course give us 4. So we have 4 here. So we are now left with x minus 2 square is now equal to 8. Now I am going to remove this square here. And for me to remove this square, what will I do? I am going to find the square root of both sides. If I find the square root of both sides, the square root will remove the square, will remove the square root here. That means we are going to have x minus 2 is now equal to the square root of 8. Of course, the square root of 8 will give us 2.83. So that means we are going to have now x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 2.83. Then we can now collect light and this plus and minus, whenever you find the square root of any number, the answer you are going to get must always have plus or minus. So we are going to move the constant to the other side. That means our x now is now equal to 2. When it's moved to the other side, its sign will change from minus to plus. We have plus or minus 2.83. So from here, we can now simplify further. If you simplify further, for you to have plus or minus, it means that you are going to have two answers. The first answer will be positive. You make use of this positive, while the second answer, you make use of the negative sign. And that will give us our x now. Will now be 2 plus 2.83. Or our x now will now be 2 minus 2.83. And that will of course give us 4.83. Or if you subtract this one, 2.83, 2, that will give us 0.8 or minus 0.83. Note, this said from the question we are asked to convert our answer to 2 decimal place. So we have our final answer, our x now will now be 4.83, 4.83, or x is equal to minus 0.83. Now we have come to the end of another solution. We have come to the end of another episode. We are going to stop here today. In our next episode, we are still going to solve question on factorization using completing the square method. Enjoy your day.